Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Vishnu Padma Parivajaka Acharya Astottara Sutta Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Uttara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Nitai Gaur Preman. All glories to Simul devotees, all glories to Simul devotees, all glories to Simul devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Continuing from Guntaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th Canto, 9th Chapter, Text 49. Subha. I left one purple book there on the ledge to the right. Yeah, the purple book. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Naite gunana gunino mahad adayo ye. Naite gunana gunino mahad adayo ye. Sarve mana prabhritaya sahadeva martya. Adyantavanta urugaya vidhanti hitvam. Evam vimrishya suhido viramanti shabdhat. Naite gunana gunino mahadadayo ye. Sarve manapa bhritaya sahadeva martya. Adyantavanta urugaya vidanti hitvam. Evam vimrishya sudiyo viramanti shabdhat. Naite gunana gunino mahadadayo ye. Sarve manapa bhritaya sahadeva mritya. Adyantavanta urugaya vidanti hitvam. Naite, na, neither. Ete, all these. Guna, the three qualities of material nature. Na, nor. Gunina, the predominating deities of the three modes of material nature, namely Lord Brahma, the predominating deity of passion, and Lord Shiva, the predominating deity of ignorance. Mahat Adaya, the five elements, the senses, and the sense objects. Yea, those which, Sarve, all, Mana, the mind, Prabhritaya, and so on. Sahadeva Martya, with all the demigods and the mortal human beings. Adi Antavanta, who all have a beginning and end. Urugaya, O Supreme Lord, who are glorified by all saintly persons. Vidanti, understand. He, indeed. Tam, your lordship. Evam, thus. Vimrishya, considering. Sudhiya, all wise men. Viramanti, cease. Shabdat, from studying or understanding the Vedas. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: neither the three modes of material nature, Sattvagun, Rajagun, and Tamagun, nor the predominating deities controlling these three modes, nor the five gross elements, nor the mind, nor the demigods, nor the human beings can understand your lordship, for they are all subjected to birth and annihilation. Considering this, the spiritually advanced have taken to devotional service. Such wise men hardly bother with Vedic study. Instead, they engage themselves in practical devotional service. Purport: as stated in several places, Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati, only by devotional service can the Supreme Lord be understood. The intelligent person, the devotee, does not bother much about the practices mentioned in text 46, Maunavrata, Shruta, Tapo, Dhyayana, Swadharma. After understanding the Supreme Lord through devotional service, such devotees are no longer interested in the studies of the Vedas. Indeed, this is confirmed in the Vedas also. The Vedas say, Kim artha vayam adhyeshyam ahe, kim artha vayam vakshyamahe. What is the use of studying so many Vedic literatures? What is the use of explaining them in different ways? Vayam vakshyamahe. No one needs to study any more Vedic literatures, nor does anyone need to describe them by philosophical speculation. Bhagavad Gita 2.52 also says, Yadate moha kalin lam, buddhir yatitaris yati, tada gantasi nirvedham, shuta vyasya shutasya cha. When one understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead by executing devotional service, one ceases the practice of studying the Vedic literature. Elsewhere it is said, Aradito yadi haris tapasya tata kim. If one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engage in His service, there is no more need of severe austerities, penances, and so on. However, if after performing severe austerities and penances one does not understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, such practices are useless. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindubheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Ask for the blessings of the senior devotees here. We're continuing these nice prayers of Prahlad Maharaj, and he's describing here an interesting point. He says, considering all this, considering the fact that hardly anyone can understand you, the devas, the rishis, the sages, the modes, the mind, considering all this, the spiritually advanced have taken to devotional service. Such wise men hardly bother with Vedic study. Instead, they engage themselves in practical devotional service. So, we can take a look at this statement, try to analyze what the point being brought out here. Does this mean that devotees don't study the Vedas, that we can just give up reading and studying the books? I think that's not what's being indicated here, but rather that a particular perspective is being analyzed here. That generally we know the Vedas is described, Vedas cha sarvaraham eva vedyo vedantakrit vedavit eva chaham. The purpose of the Vedas is to understand Krishna. All of the Vedas, there's so much Vedic literature, and it's described that about 90% deals with the Karma Kanda section, which is particular rituals, things meant for elevation. And generally one of these items indicated in this previous mention, as far as I recall, Mauna, Vrata, Shruta, Tapo, Dhyana, Swadharma. It's mentioned in text 46. And that's describing to amass all kinds of Vedic knowledge, to undergo austerities, to study the Vedas and other Vedic literatures, execute Varnashram, explain the Shastras. And these are described as methods for liberation. So this is a very prominent form of Jnana Yoga, studying the Vedas, trying to ascertain the absolute truth through discernment. But Prahlad Maharaj is saying that actually for the devotees who've actually taken devotional service, they don't focus so much on this aspect anymore. And we'll see this verse that Prabhupada quotes in the purport here from Bhagavad Gita 252, a very nice verse. Idate moha kalilam buddhir yatitarisyati tada gantasi nirvedam shrutavyasya shrutasya cha. When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. So we'll just take a look at the purport here, what this is referring to. Purport, there are many good examples in the lives of the great devotees of the Lord, of those who became indifferent to the rituals of the Vedas simply by devotional service to the Lord. When a person factually understands Krishna and his relationship with Krishna, he naturally becomes completely indifferent to the rituals of fruitive activities, even though an experienced brahmana. Sri Madhavendra Puri, a great devotee and acharya in the line of the devotees, says, O my prayers 3 times a day, all glory to you. O bathing, I offer my obeisances unto you. O demigods, O forefathers, please excuse me for my inability to offer you my respects. Now, wherever I sit, I can remember the great descendant of the Yadu dynasty, Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, and thereby I can free myself from all kinds of sinful bondage. I think this is sufficient for me. The Vedic rites and rituals are imperative for neophytes, comprehending all kinds of prayer 3 times a day, taking a bath early in the morning, offering respects to the forefathers, etc. But when one is fully in Krishna consciousness and is engaged in his transcendental loving service, one becomes indifferent to all these regulative principles because he has already attained perfection. If one can reach the platform of understanding by service to the Supreme Lord Krishna, he has no longer to execute different types of penances and sacrifices as recommended in revealed scriptures. And similarly, if one has not understood that the purpose of the Vedas is to reach Krishna and simply engages in the rituals, etc., then he is uselessly wasting time in such engagements. Persons in Krishna consciousness transcend the limit of Shabda Brahma, or the range of the Vedas and Upanishads. So, as we were describing, this Vedic study is traditionally a means by which of elevation, by furthering ourselves along the spiritual path to hopefully come to the point of devotional service. But those who have taken full shelter in the process of bhakti, then they study the Vedas in a different way. It's not that they don't study the Vedic literature, but rather their aim is not for liberation, for amassing knowledge, for impressing others, making a livelihood. The devotees take to the study of the Vedas for relishing. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridavrata namasyantascha mam nityam nityayuktu pasate. Or there's another verse that says tushanti cha ramanti cha. They describe these literatures with each other simply for tasting this transcendental nectar. And this is the activities of the devotees. They're always glorifying the Lord there, and they're always taking shelter of the Shastra, of Srimad Bhagavatam, because this is the Bhakti Kand section of the Vedas, the Bhakti literatures, Srimad Bhagavatam primarily, and Bhagavad Gita is a concise overview. So these type of Vedas, the devotees never give up, even after achieving perfection and engaging in devotional service. What is that devotional service? Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. And this is the means by which the devotees sustain their existence. So the devotees should become attached actually to hearing and chanting about Krishna. Even come in Krishna consciousness, or the devotees who have achieved actual Krishna consciousness, you can see they don't give up studying the Vedas, but they do it to deepen their devotion actually. It's an eternal activity. So there's some nice verses in the 2nd canto. Shukadeva Goswami is describing this as well. Some very nice verses come here. This is text 7. Prayena munayo rajan nivritta vidhi seidhata nargunyasta ramante sma gunanu kattante hare. O King Parikshit, mainly the topmost transcendentalists who are above the regulative principles and restrictions take pleasure in describing the glories of the Lord. So we can see also from the lives of the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu these activities where they would be hearing Bhagavatam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself would be hearing these pastimes of Bhagavatam over and over again, relishing. And the lives of his followers are dedicated to actually describing these delineations of the Absolute Truth and the activities of the spiritual world, and thereby giving nourishment to the devotees, giving us something to absorb our minds and consciousness. Because if our minds and the consciousness don't get attracted to the topics of transcendence, of the Krishna Katha, then there's another verse, a very beautiful verse that Shukadeva Goswami says that those persons who are materially engrossed, being blind to the knowledge of the ultimate truth, have many subject matters for hearing in human society, O Emperor. So unless we avail ourselves to the descriptions of the Absolute Truth, which is actually described as this katamrita or nectar, then anandamaya bhyasad will be inclined to hear so many other things. And this is a challenge on a day-to-day basis. Even in our interactions with others. We're inclined to hear so many things. Prabhupada says, we want to hear some intrigue, some romance, some action. Therefore, Vyasadeva compiled Mahabharata and Srimad Bhagavatam, because that's the purifying form of those topics. If we don't take the purified form, then we have to go for the impure form in terms of mundane topics, novels, cinema, drama, gossip. And all these things actually act to decrease our absorption in Krishna consciousness. So we see also that even Shukadeva Goswami, he says, at the end of Dwapara Yuga, I studied this great supplement of Vedic literature named Srimad Bhagavatam, which is equal to all the Vedas, from my father, Srila Dvaipayana Vyasadeva. O Saintly King, I was certainly situated perfectly in transcendence, yet I was still attracted by the delineation of the pastimes of the Lord, who is described by enlightened verses. So the nature of the Absolute Truth, it's so enrapturing when we avail ourselves and we purify ourselves through bhakti, through devotional service. Bhakti amam abhijananti. This is how we can understand Krishna, and this is how Krishna will begin to reveal himself through the Vedas. It says one can study the Vedas for many millions of years. You only get the realization when Krishna sees you have the right submissive, humble service attitude. This is the key. The humility is so essential in our study of the Vedas, because you can read and then you can become proud. You can amass knowledge. But that type of knowledge is not going to purify you, actually. But if you, under the guidance of the spiritual master, one engages in aspiration, the cultivation of pure devotion, then the topics of the Vedas, the Srimad Bhagavatam, become so attractive that it says actually one loses taste for all else. Who would desire some other taste besides Srimad Bhagavatam? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says that if all of the books in this world or universe were to be burned, but Srimad Bhagavatam survives, there would be no loss. So, this is the nature of the gift that we've been given, and we should take advantage of it. We should really avail ourselves to this. It's not that the devotees, this verse, unless one is a little introspective with some good associates, they may think, oh, such wise men hardly bother with the Vedic study. Instead, they engage themselves in practical devotional service, jai. Practical service, ki jai. We don't have to hear and chant, we don't have to read and study. But without that, then all of our, what will the quality of our service be? So it's essential for all devotees. That's why Prabhupada translated these books. He said, I've written these books mostly for my devotees. They're for distribution for the public, but primarily it's for us. And there's so many that we have a whole lifetime ahead of us. We don't have to worry about, running out. There's so many books now about transcendence. And it's saying, however, if after performing, if one can understand the Supreme Personality of God and engage in His service, there is no more need of severe austerities, penances, and so on. However, if after performing severe austerities and penances, one does not understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, such practices are useless. So we should also understand all the activities we are doing austerities, we're doing tapasya. And we have to connect that with Krishna's satisfaction, right? Yad karoshi yarajnasi yad johosi dlasi. Yad tapasyasi kante yad tat kurushamadarn. Whatever you do, whatever austerities you perform, whatever we give away, we're giving a lot to Krishna, actually. Do that as an offering to me. In other words, don't make it just be a ritual. We're not in the ritualistic portion of the Vedas. This is not meant to be ritual, the International Society for Rituals. We have to see how offering all these things, fasting, our devotional activities, our service, is meant ultimately for the service of the Lord. That means we have to remember the Lord. Man mana bhava mad bhakto. And this is Krishna's instruction, how to surrender. Krishna says, just surrender unto me. So how do we do that? By this constant remembrance. And Lord Chaitanya gave us the easiest formula, kirtaniya sadahari. But again, we can't do that unless we have the qualification. What's the qualification? Trinada Pisanichena. Tadore Vasishnuna. Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahadi. So, just like Krishna, Krishna is inconceivable. He's Achintya. Many people saw Krishna, they didn't understand who he was. It's a reciprocation. Krishna's reciprocating with our mentality. So similarly, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the deity, the devotees, all these things there, it's achintya, it's inconceivable. You can't really understand the tattva of these subjects unless you get the mercy of Krishna. It may seem ordinary. It may seem like what we're doing is ordinary. Just like people saw Krishna and they thought he was ordinary. But the more we become purified, the more we understand the gravity and the depth of everything that we're doing and the potency that's there. The potency is said that just by these 5 devotional practices, one can immediately awaken bhava, bhakti. We're doing every day, hearing Bhagavatam, residing in holy place, serving the deity, chanting the holy name. What's the other one? Deity, Nam, Bhagavatam, the Dham, and the Vaishnavas. Something like that. Holy name, yeah. And we're doing so many angas of devotional service, but so our task is trying to do them in the right state of consciousness, and giving up the selfish desire. There's something in this for me, the false ego, giving up the egoistic motivation and pervasion, the pervasiveness of our false ego through these activities of bhakti, and by continually applying the medicine, right? Syan nama Krishna chatitadi sitapya vidya pitopatapta rasanasya narochikanu kintvadaradhanudinam sarvakalajusta. That simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, one develops a relish, it tastes naturally. Even though initially, for a person who has jaundice, taking sugar, it tastes very bitter. But it's amazing that simply by chanting these sweet names every day, one destroys the disease at its root and natural relish awakens. So simply by doing these activities again and again, the taste will come, actually. That's how powerful these activities are. So therefore, we being encouraged here to take to the practical devotional service in an effort to try to understand the absolute truth. And that doesn't exclude studying the Vedas, but in what way? It means studying the bhakti section under the guidance of the spiritual master and the Vaishnavas, and finding the satisfaction that we're looking for there, because it is there. We just have to do the research. Prabhupada says one should become a philosopher and conduct research into the absolute truth. He says the students of Transcendence are so busy making inquiries and research into the absolute truth that they don't have time for anything else. So we should really awaken this deeper sense of inquiry. We can sit down and converse with each other. Prabhu, how are you? Where did you come from? Where are you going? What's the latest in our material? But that's not the real inquiry that's going to satisfy us. That's just to pass the time. You see, when Jai Jagannath comes and sit down, he's like, so what's your realization? This type of discussion, this will protect us from Maya. Because it's illusory. All these things that we're describing, they're all temporary. They don't have real substantial existence. So what's the use of getting so absorbed in all these temporary things? It's not going to satiate the soul. It's going to create a hankering for illusion. We get so caught up on these small, little insignificant details, but we forget that in a few years we're going to be gone. And all of that is going to be totally forgotten. No one's going to remember someone didn't offer the cheesecake. No one is going to remember any of these things. The only thing we can take with us is our consciousness, our devotion for Krishna. So I don't have so much prepared. I didn't get to prepare too much. Maybe we'll see if there's any questions. Maybe hopefully there'll be some discussion on these topics. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Jai Baladev Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, thank you for your class. Pretty much, I'll just, your points were really nice, and I'll pretty much just have commentary about it. Maybe you could elaborate on some of the points that I also appreciated from other devotees and Prabhupada. One point I appreciated from Jitendra, one lesson I got that was very valuable is that there's a distinction between devotional service and commotional service. And one lesson in that regard that I got from Gokulananda that made me criticize myself that I really appreciate. I mentioned in the class a few times before, but it's a point that comes up all the time, where I was kind of, he made me, realize that I should criticize myself and be judgmental and question my own motives more than anybody. That way, if anyone criticizes me, I'm already ahead of the game, so that way I won't be disturbed. So basically what he said was, I mentioned it before, is that in general, when you ask people, do you have any questions, commentaries, or appreciations of Bhagavatam, it's generally no, and that's my situation, but you ask someone, is there any questions, commentaries, or appreciations of the latest gossip? Everyone has, their own Apara Vedanta commentary. Everyone has a commentary of who somebody is, but when it comes to who Krishna is, do we care about it? And so that's why I can't criticize anybody, but I appreciate that point, and that made me question my own consciousness. And so my question is, or I'll try to formulate a question, is that how detrimental is this tendency not to be enthusiastic about Bhagavatam? Because like you said, unless we take shelter of, seriously take shelter, because circumstances could reveal where our real devotion is to. Circumstances like gossip, it reveals to us what our real devotion is to. So how detrimental is this not being really grateful and taking this very seriously? Otherwise, we'll just, our conscience will just go down, just waste time, like you said, None of people remember these insignificant things, in a few years. So why waste your time talking about who a person is? It's useless. So how detrimental is this? Or maybe you could elaborate on that point.
How detrimental is wasting our time with these things?
Yeah, or not being grateful, basically. Maybe talk about gratitude. So that was Gokulananda's point of gratitude. And Prabhupada makes this point in Canto 2, Chapter 4, Verse 5. He says the test of whether one is hearing Bhagavatam is that if one is being satisfied by it. Just like if somebody's eating food, nobody has to tell you that you're satisfied. When you eat food, people may question your consciousness. Oh, is he, a devotee, or is he not devotee? It doesn't matter. But if you're satisfied, you won't care about the latest gossip. You'll care about Bhagavatam. And so Prabhupada says this is how we could test ourselves to see whether or not we're advancing in Krishna consciousness. So we should all be critical of ourselves. I could do more. Maybe we could elaborate on that point a little bit. I forgot whatever point I was mentioning.
The reason that we do these things because we're not feeling satisfied, we're not feeling protected, we're not experiencing our relationship with Krishna. Therefore, we take shelter of so many unwholesome habits. So, in these things, we have to go to the root of the issue. The cosmetic adjustments in trying to cover that won't actually solve the real problem. And so, principles of gratitude and humility, these are the natural qualities that evolve if we're doing our practice properly. If these aren't, to some degree awakening or developing further, then, we're missing out, and we're not getting the mercy.
I just want to mention one last point. One quote I appreciated in regards to that kind of sums the subject matter up. One quote I really appreciated. It says, wherever I go, I'm second to arrive. My reputation precedes me. And I appreciate this because, over the years you hear, you'll hear so many biographies about one devotee, and they're all different. And I kind of find that, very hilarious. So for me, like this point, Gokulanandame, I stopped listening to what people tell me who a person is and start focusing more on my devotional service and who I am. So that's one of the points I derive from this very valuable lesson Gokulananda says many times. So anyway, that's my last comment.
Yeah, the real relationship that we want to have is with Krishna. We want to say, usually we're so concerned about satisfying others and pleasing others, but it'll be impossible for us to satisfy everyone. But if we water the root tree, if we satisfy Krishna by our activities and our engagement, then actually that's all we have to worry about. And naturally you'll find that others will be satisfied and pleased. Subal Prabhu, I'd like to say something.
One thing I was thinking, you mentioned it about the principle of humility. And one of the problems that we have is that we don't have necessarily a very deep attraction for hearing and chanting. So how you develop that attraction and putting into perspective this principle of humility. One of the things that doesn't allow us to be attractive is that, and also to have this principle of humility is that we have this very intense, rooted desire to be independent. So the Bhagavatam tells us how we develop that. How do we develop that attraction? Is this famous verse Shushusho Shadadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtani Sevaya, that service to the devotees. Menial service to the devotees, the example, the personality who exemplify that verse is Srila Narada Muni, who achieved perfection or was able to reach that perfection by menial service to the devotees. So the humility have to be there, that it's not just, that we practice devotional service and, connecting to Krishna, we have that principle. No. We reach that through the service of the devotees. So menial service to devotees is most important in our level, cultivating the principle of humility. So, and that means, with a very conscientious effort, trying to do menial service to the devotees. Be open to that, which is not a very simple. It's simple to say it, but we have this block that, I can do better things. There's always the better things. I can, I have this intelligence. I can be a preacher. Why should I be the one who mopped the floor? That type of thing. Or a big book distributor. Why should I, carry the boga out of the truck? Type of thing. Or I'm the temple president, or I'm this or I'm that, or I'm the leader of that, and I cannot do all this. Every single thing that we do is with the mood of a menial servant, and that would develop that sort of mood. That's something that I just wanted to share that you're thinking.
I don't think I can comment on that comment. It's a very nice comment. Another point I was going to share is that on the point of the Vedic literature, that we don't devotees don't cease studying the Vedas. We study certain sections, and also then we're obliged to share that with others. And this is also can be done in different ways. It can be done in a way of superiority complex, nourishing our false ego, or it can be done in this humble mood also. That humble mood of trying to spread Krishna's glories with others is very endearing to Krishna. This is taken from the Krishna book. In the Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, the Lord also states that one who is engaged in preaching Krishna consciousness is very dear to him. A preacher has to face many difficulties in his struggle to preach pure Krishna consciousness. Sometimes he has to suffer bodily injuries. Sometimes he has to meet death also. All this is taken as a great austerity on behalf of Krishna. Krishna therefore said that such a preacher is very, very dear to him. If Krishna's enemies can expect salvation simply by concentrating their minds on him, then what to speak of persons who are so dear to Krishna? The conclusion should be that the salvation of those who are engaged in preaching Krishna consciousness in the world is guaranteed in all circumstances. But such preachers never care for salvation because factually one who is engaged in Krishna consciousness devotional service has already achieved salvation. So we are encouraged to actually take deeply to the study of these books that Srila Prabhupada has given and to try to assist Srila Prabhupada. You know, we all are meant to, this is a preaching movement, so in different ways, we're all meant to assimilate this message and then share that with others. And that is the kind of spirit behind Srila Prabhupada's movement, and also how we tune in more and more to that mercy that Srila Prabhupada wants to give to everyone. And this is also from the Bhagavatam, the 3rd canto. The demigods are called sakama devotees, or devotees with material desires in mind, while the pure devotees are called nishkama devotees, because they have no desires in their personal interests. The sakama devotees are self-interested because they do not think of others, and therefore they are not able to satisfy the Lord perfectly, whereas the pure devotees take the missionary responsibility of turning non-devotees into devotees, and they are therefore able to satisfy the Lord more than the demigods. Sometimes the Lord himself descends for missionary activities, as he did in the form of Lord Chaitanya. Mostly he sends his bona fide representatives, and thus he shows his causeless mercy towards the non-devotees. The Lord is so satisfied with his pure devotees that he wants to give them the credit of missionary success, although he could do the work personally. This is the sign of his satisfaction with his pure nishkama devotees compared to the sakama devotees. So he says, this responsibility of turning non-devotees into our devotees. So we're trying to assist that. We're trying to assist Srila Prabhupada in his mission. Therefore, Krishna becomes so merciful, so pleased, so kind that he also would give credit to the devotees who are assisting. We see Prabhupada gave so much credit to his disciples, even they were trying in whatever way they could to go out and distribute some books or preach to some people or maintain the temple, worship the deities, all these things. And Prabhupada would become so pleased with that. And we know that by satisfying the spiritual master, that is Krishna's satisfaction for us. Any other comments or questions? Jitendra Prabhu?
I was just reading that it's a laborious thing just to acquire, all kinds of knowledge and verses, but the main thing is the purport of it. It's like a ass carrying a burden if you're not understanding the reason why you're doing something. I think Prabhupada was commenting on this one magazine, Scientific America, and they were describing how they were building this, I think it was a telescope or something like that, and Prabhupada says, yeah, but they're doing all this work, but they're not understanding why they're doing it, So that just kind of came to mind, I was reading the Krishna, it was either in the Krishna Samhita or the Chaitanya Shikshamrita, but it was elaborating on that, without understanding the purport. That's what it was stressing.
Yeah, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that the purpose of knowledge and education is to understand Krishna. So what is the purpose of so much education if it's not directed towards that end? That's a great illusion. That, oh, you should become very, just by birth in this world, you should become very well educated, you get a high position and become very... But that's actually a conception of the mode of ignorance. The devotees understand that actually your knowledge should be for understanding Krishna. And if it doesn't assist you in that, then it's useless actually. So how much unnecessary, this is prayasti, unnecessary endeavor there is going on, because so much knowledge people are being absorbed in. But again, these things are temporary. It's not going to provide the actual satisfaction.
Increasing one's false pride, pushing them towards a fall down. What does it say? Knowledge, but no transformation?
Yeah. Information, but no transformation.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Jai Hare Krishna. Anything else? Okay. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.